Good day, good day, good day. We're back again. The Startup and Innovators on the Atlanta Discuss channel. I've said it and I'll continue to say we need to promote our own people that are doing extraordinary things, people that are doing great things all over the world. Africa, it's not just a continent of bad news. It's not a continent of 419ers, fraudulent people, drug dealers. There's a lot happening. You can see from my past guests, we've had people that were part of the internet generation in America when they started www.com. Professor Charles Obi, he was one of the core people that started it. We had Ambuima Bujhasin, 7 patents and still counting. We have Amos, the maths guy, over 42 books on maths alone, from calculus to geometry. Just last week, I spoke to I've forgotten his name again, the guy, the humanity guy, who is all over Africa, empowering people, teaching them how to barb. Right now, the last time I spoke to him, over 5,000 people have been trained how to barb. And those are what we're talking about. Today, I have a most extraordinary guest, someone that knows everything about import and export. Yes, we call him the export king. Anything you want to know about export, yes, I'm going to introduce him. He's my friend and brother. His name is Bamidele Ayemibo. Bamidele, welcome to Atlanta Discuss Channel, Startup and Innovators.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Yeah. Now, Bamidele is not a startup. He's been there for a while, but he's clearly an innovator. That's why he's here today. He doesn't even fall under the startup category at all, but he's clearly an innovator. Let me introduce him to you, and of course he will tell you his own story. And it's going to be a bit different because there's a lot we want to hear from him on the export business. He just wrote there's a new book that just came out, so we're going to allow him tell the story like most of our guests, but there are a lot of technical questions we want to ask him on export-related issues. So Bamidele here, the export king, as is fondly called, everybody call him the export king, is an internationally recognized business consultant and marketing expert. He's the lead consultant at the 3T Impex Trade Consulting Limited as his company. He's also a trade consultant with numerous trade certification all over the world. He's the first certified specialist in demand guarantee in Nigeria and among the first 10 in the continent of Africa. That's why he's an innovator, So he holds a master's in international business with law from SalfordUniversity, Manchester, United Kingdom, Ph.D. in international business marketing with the LIGS University, that's in Hawaii, United States of America. And of course, he conceived, designed, and facilitated the training of the first export diploma program and the 6th trade professional development program in Africa in conjunction with the American Institute, So this guy is global. It's global. So that's why he's here today. And Bamidele, let's just tell us in a nutshell before we go to nitty-gritty. Tell us of your story. How did you find yourself in this place? Why are you the export king? Is that what you've always wanted to do, or you just stumble on it? Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a medical background. I studied medical.
Tell me about. I really want to hear this.
I've been from Lut.
Are you serious? Lagos University Teaching Hospital.
Yeah,
go ahead. Okay, then let me start.
So I studied medical physiology. I didn't study medicine. So eventually I studied medical physiology, and I really love medical physiology.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to come back and do medicine. It wasn't working out, so I went into banking. So it was in banking that I found myself in international trade. And after some years in banking, I left. But before I left, I wrote all the certification program I could find in international trade and practicing as a trade professional within the banking sector. But I realized most of the time when I was doing those certification programs, I had to do self-study. So I started a tutorial as a banker on weekend for bankers that want to do those exams that I've done. And after some years of doing that, I eventually left banking in 2010. And now at 3T Impex, as lead consultant at 3T Impex Consulting and Academy, we basically, the word 3T actually stands for Trade Education, Trade Enhancement, and Trade Execution. So 3T Impex is import export. So that's where we get the 3T Impex Consulting and 3T Impex Trade Academy. So we basically, as the name implied, trade education, basically driving trade education in Africa. We recently partnered with some other guys to set up an Institute of Export and International Trade in Nigeria. So to be able to drive some of the certification programs, because we realized we're in partnership with LIBF, London of Banking and Finance, and AIES, American Institute of Extended Studies. But because of FX issue and the cost, it was becoming challenging for a lot of people to be able to meet up with the cost of having to pay. So we have to find a way to domesticate some of those certification, which we recently started running in partner with some other trade professionals in Nigeria. But our goal basically is to increase. We do training on import, we support on import, but we are more passionate about export because that is what Africa really need now. So that's why I think I've written about 8 books, only 1 on import. The other 7 are only 1 on import, 2 on import and export, more or less together. Then the remaining 5 all on export. And the reason is because we believe we need to do more within the export space to be able to grow not only export in Africa in general, which we've been pushing for about 1.5 decades now. It's been a challenging journey, but it's also been an interesting journey. Interesting in the sense that we've seen the growth in trade in Africa, in Nigeria in particular, even though it's at a slow pace, but we are not where we used to be. But we can do a lot more, which is why I do a lot of writing also of articles, just to get the government to be able to see the opportunity within this space, which I believe is not that they are not seeing, they have alternative. So because there's an alternative way to make money, it's not making doing work to make money very attractive. So as a governor in Nigeria, even though with export I can create job and generate revenue, but I would rather sit down and wait for allocation to come end of the month, and I will pay salary, and I will build bridges, I will build infrastructure, and I don't really have to be intelligent to be able to create value within the economy of the state and make money for the state. I just collect what has been shared to me, and then I'm fine. And that's why people want to kill themselves in those positions. So the opportunity within the landscape is very huge. We're hoping that we'll be able to wake up to this reality very soon. But for now, we're here.
Fantastic. Yeah, before I go to, I have about maybe 8-7 questions for you, and I'm sure you're on top of it. But before we go into that, you said you've written 8 books. Now, I know you just wrote one. That's I'm really fascinated by that, the export product atlas, right?
Atlas.
Yeah. Can we talk about that? What is it about? Why did you have to write a book on the export product atlas?
Okay, so we realized that.
Sorry, is it that you have written so many books that we're not reading them? Then that's okay. Let me put in picture form. Maybe it'll be better for us to. Because I know people like you that like reading and writing, you think people like us who don't read, we're indolent. So maybe if the words don't carry weight, maybe the picture will help, right? So
the reason was Atlas is because maybe because you're in America, you probably read, but a number of business people I've met in Africa, in Nigeria, many people don't have the time. In fact, our capacity building programs, we have big manual we give people that they need to go through, but we still make the video available. And we realize a lot of people go for the video because they can listen on the go or watch on the go rather than sitting down to be able to do the reading. But the Atlas, the idea of Atlas is not a book as it were. It's like a reference document. So for example, I want to export cocoa. So, what is cocoa? What is it used for? What are the specifications for export? What documentation do I need? How do I calculate my pricing? What are the pitfalls that I need to avoid? What are the options available for me to get buyers? How do I get started? So each product, about 20 products, and each of them was discussed under 10 subheading, and all of them in the pictorial form, including market and the volume demanded and the potential market. So that means if I want to do sorghum, I just go to the chapter on sorghum and go and check what is sorghum about, what is specification. So it provides such an information that even if I'm an exporter and I want to do something else, because I have a background, it makes it easier for me to know what is changing. And if I'm new entirely, I know what exactly I need to deal with. And in fact, one of the other reasons is Nigeria have a lot of issue with rejection. That's why there are 2 sections in each product that address that. 3 sections. one on parameter, that's specification, second on packaging to ensure the good is in optimal position destination, and the third is on pitfalls and how to mitigate it. Just to be able to provide information in snippet, so that at the end of the day you can easily get the information and know what to do to be able to prevent those quality issues that the product is designed to. But in pictorial form, because we just need something that you can easily flip, pick up the information you have. So it's always on your desk. It's not something, it's not a book you will read and say you are finished reading. It's a reference material you need to go to again and again for because the specifications are the same, as in it doesn't change. The only thing that will change in the book is probably the market demand. That's all other things. Cashew is cashew. Moisture is still a problem for many years. It's a problem 20 years ago. It's still a problem in the future. If the moisture is more than 10%, it's going to make the cashew to grow and destroy it in transit. So those are very important information that does not change because of the nature of the item. And so that's why there are reference documents that are needed every now and then for you to be able to ensure that you get in one spot 20 products. And we're planning to do solid minerals, intermediate products, finished good, processed agro, about 5 series I have in the works that I'm working on. But just releasing this now, maybe in the subsequent, maybe next year we'll probably work on the second one and then release it subsequently.
Oh wow! So where do we get to buy this book? Is it on Amazon or where?
Okay, I'm trying to reduce this because of the picture. It's very heavy, so it's been challenging because all these platforms are maximum size. So currently it's still hard copy, but it's available on our website. It's available on seller.co. Available on our website, and we're trying to get into some bookshop we work with in Nigeria. Okay. But for those outside the country, if you order online, we can dispatch to you.
Okay. We'll add all the information to the chat box so that.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go a bit more technical. Questions people will want to hear. Let's start with export opportunities.
Okay.
What are some of the most promising export opportunities for African businesses? Particularly in the global market.
So, if Africa is going to grow export, trade, we need to be strategic. We can't do it just because we want to do it. So, for example, West Africa is the produce 75% of global production of cocoa. 75%. So we're the largest grower of cocoa. But the global market for
Ivory Coast, Nigeria.
Yes, Nigeria, Cameroon, yes. But the global market for cocoa is just about 12 billion. The people making money are the people producing cocoa butter, cocoa cake, cocoa liquor, and chocolate and other derivatives. So meaning we have to add value. But we might not need to add value to finish because sometimes you're also pushing a rating and you think you must finish. You don't need to finish the goods. Global trade today, as of last year, according to the UN on trade, is global trade is about $33 trillion. About 8-9 trillion is trade in services. About 24 trillion is trade in goods.
Oh, wow.
African trade in goods is 2.5%.
What?
With a population of about 1.3 billion people. EU trade is about 33%. With a population less than 500 million people. If we are going to grow our trade, we must concentrate on a particular class of product that constitute about 50 to 60% of global trade. And that is intermediate product. So, instead of exporting raw shea butter or exporting cosmetics, I export instead of exporting raw shea nut or cosmetic finished goods of shea nut, I'm exporting shea butter, an intermediate product. Raw materials, about 20%. Finished goods trade, about 20%. About 50 to 60% is intermediate product. So what that means is that I'm better off if I want to generate forex and I want to take a good share of the market. Since I'm the one producing raw material, instead of cocoa beans, do cocoa butter. Instead of shea nut, do shea butter. Instead of lead ore, do lead ingot. Those intermediate products are commanding large volume. And the reason is obvious. many developed countries have concern about the effluent from the factory when you process raw material because of the impact on the environment. However, they don't want you to ship finished goods because you take away their jobs. So if you ship intermediate product, they will be okay with that because it will make the waste to come into their country after processing, and you will not be taking away the job they want to. You won't be taking all the jobs. You are taking some job by semi-processing, but at least let's say have some job also as a result of finished goods. So that's why I believe the demand for intermediate good is really, really, really growing and growing very fast in the world.
Oh, fantastic. So now let's go trade barriers now. What are some common trade barriers that African exporters face? How can they be overcome?
There are a lot of non-tariff barriers. Non-tariff barriers. Although Trump has come up with tariff barriers.
Yeah, but we're talking barriers that are not tariff-oriented now.
They're not tariff, yes, I know. So non-tariff barriers. So, we are not as developed yet in Africa. So there are some things that the Europeans, particularly who are a major trader with Africa, are trying to have policies against, but which we should do. For example, you are saying that I must have organic certification. My farm is organic, but I don't have certification. I probably not use fertilizer. I don't even have money for fertilizer to grow. But I don't have money to be able to do the certification program to make you know that it's organic, even though it's organic. And because I'm not able to do that, then that becomes a challenge for me to enter your market. Sometimes you request for fair trade certification, which is not a bad idea to ensure that everybody in the value chain gets paid. Sometimes they even talk about that you must not do child labor. But we're in Africa where a parent give back to children for them to go with him to farm. Because these are opportunities to be able to create labor on his farm. But now there are policies that are saying, no, you can't do this. So because these are cultural issues we have that are now becoming a challenge in the world, which is affecting the way we're going about doing business or the way we're going about the trade, particularly on the commodity side. In fact, it's not just commodity now. With ESG is becoming a big deal, particularly sustainability issues. You are selling palm oil, they're asking palm kernel, the palm nut, the harmony tree were falling. I think a number of things that were not an issue before, which might be well intended. In fact, I was at a conference, Global Trade Review conference in Victoria Island, Lagos. I think it was in April. And we were talking about the sustainability certification program for cocoa. And I was telling them that, look, as much as this is good, but it's going to affect them because the kind of barrier they are raising, we won't be able to meet it. Unless people that are just planting cocoa. But the one we are planted, that will have planted, we won't be able to meet it. Now, if we can't meet it, that means we can't supply you. If we can't supply you, then your factory also will be in trouble. So you have to find a balance, a delicate balance between the sustainability drive and ensuring you do not hinder the growth of your economy and unemployment, creating unemployment because of the policy around sustainability.
Okay, wow, fantastic. So let's talk about the export procedures now. So can you walk us through the key steps involved in exporting goods from Africa to other parts of the world?
Okay, so this is not just from Africa. Generally, this happens in any country. The first is preparation. Preparation speaks to export readiness. Preparation speaks to export readiness. So let me define export readiness.
Okay.
It's a multifaceted concept that involves the ability of a company to successfully enter the export market, sustainably compete in that market, and significantly grow its market share until it becomes established in that market. And that needs to be done at the point of preparation. Export readiness. Now, why is preparation very necessary? Preparation is necessary because it helps a business to be able to plug all the loopholes. Or it's like something might happen in future. before it happens, let me be ready. Because if I don't get ready and it happens, it becomes a challenge for me. So why don't I get ready now? Why don't I ask questions about my payment, about my quality, about my packaging, about my pricing? All these things need to be dealt with at the point of preparation now. When I talk to an exporter and say, okay, I want to go into export. And I say, what's your challenge? When they say, my challenge is getting buyer. And I will respond, your challenge is not getting buyer. Your challenge is getting ready for the business. Because when you get ready and you've done what you need to do to be ready, you will know what to do to get buyers. Because buyers are available. In fact,
they will come naturally.
Yes. No, because now you will begin, that which is the whole idea about knowledge. You begin to see what you were not seeing before. You begin to see opportunity you were not seeing before. You begin to see how to go about it. So, if you are well prepared, you will know exactly what to do to promote. Because immediate preparation is complete, promotion can start. The goal of promotion is to get a purchase order and negotiate pricing. That's the goal of promotion. To negotiate pricing and get a purchase order signed. When I've signed the purchase order, negotiate pricing, after promotion, the next is for me to procure or produce. And by the way, I procure, I don't produce, because I don't need to be the producer of the item I'm exporting.
That's true.
I can just be a trader. So I'm a trader who buy and sell from manufacturer of those products. So I can procure or produce if I'm the manufacturer. When I procure, the next is packaging. If you are shipping it to any country, they have labeling requirement, they have packaging requirement. It's important you understand the packaging requirement and labeling requirement. Some country, if you are shipping to Canada, for example, you have to include French. If you really want to penetrate that market, else you probably just stay among the English-speaking community. If you are going to America and food product, you need FDA. So depending on the country you are going, there are different requirements in those countries. So it's important you understand the requirement for each of the market you are trying to go into. All that can be put together in packaging. After packaging, the good is ready for shipment. So I can do my pre-export documentation. It varies from country to country. In Nigeria, you need an export certificate or export license. You will fill an application form applying to the government you want to export. It's called NXP form, Nigeria Export Proceed form. You attach a pro forma invoice to it and other permit as may be required. When you are exporting, for many countries, including Nigeria, you don't pay export duty. And quite frankly, many countries don't charge duty on export because export is crediting the country with money. So they want to encourage businesses to export. So you rarely find countries that charges on export. If they are going to charge at all, it's going to be very minimal. So in Nigeria, you only pay a fee, and it's called the Nigerian Export Supervision Scheme. The Nigeria Export Supervision Scheme.
I like the way you are going about this. So before you learn, let me just go to the next question so that I can take it together.
Okay.
The next question was supposed to be about market access.
Okay.
So I like your chain of thought. So I don't want to wreck it. So I want you to take it all together. So
let me finish this train of thought. Yeah. I'll come back to promotion, which is part of the market access.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'll come back to promotion later. So if you do your pre-export documentation, you engage custom with a custom license agent. They arrange the good for shipment. The good is loaded into the container and you ship. Then you do your post-export documentation. That is the document you need to send to the buyer. For example, bill of lading if I'm shipping by sea, airway bill if I'm shipping by air, roadway bill if I'm shipping by road, railway bill if I'm shipping by rail, plus my invoice to ask for payment, plus other documents. Some country will require a certificate of origin because they have a preferential agreement that enable them to treat some product, like AGOA, for example, in America, that enable them to treat some product duty-free. I'm not sure AGOA will work now again with the duty that Trump has slammed on Africa. So, on the world, not just Africa. So now, then port-to-port shipment is done. From port offloading to port of discharge. While that is done, the exporter present document to the buyer or his bank. And then the bank review document, effect payment. Document is released to the importer in the destination market, who then do post-shipment inspection. That's inspection at arrival, a destination. So when the good arrive, they will do the destination inspection. If everything is in order, they pay and the transaction is concluded. Now, I'll come back to promotion. Promotion is a very important part. In fact, I try to compel, or I won't say compel, encourage my client to do it themselves. There is the culture of looking for someone to sell me a contract for me to supply. So my question is, this is not a government contract. If you supply today, if that guy is not buying tomorrow, you are going to need someone again to give you a contract. What if nobody is giving you? Yeah, your business has crashed. You don't have business again. So why don't you learn and master how to find buyer? And in my research, one of the cardinal points that is critical in this process is having an overseas sales representative, which is why before we started, we were discussing, I was talking about the fact that Nigerians in diasporas, Africans in diasporas are asset. Jackpot to me is a blessing, only that we are now harnessing the blessing. It's creating market and it's creating room for collaboration to penetrate market. What we've not done is to boost capacity of the people that have gone to be able to know what to do and how to go about it to be able to do what they need to do in the export market. And that requires a lot of capacity building. However, the challenge I've seen is because of bills. You can pay a lot of bills.
I know. You can say that again. You can say that again.
Even those that have paid to join our program don't have time to go through the materials. They pay to, they have not been able to. It's challenging,
To go through it.
Yes. So it takes a lot of discipline and determination to say, look, I must create time for this every week, maybe 2-3 hours to be able to go through this. Just because everybody performs to install capacity, you can only do what you know about. If you don't know how to do it, you won't be able to do it. So knowing how to do it becomes important for us to be able to harness those opportunities. So, but there are different options. So for example, if I'm looking for buyers, I can decide to go online and use Facebook or Instagram to advertise. And Facebook and Instagram have done it in a way that the buyer can easily chat me directly. And I tell my client, when they chat you like that based on your advert, don't call them. Send the detail to your rep, let your rep call them. Why? Because just because you are black, just because you're African, you are a fraudster until you prove otherwise.
Absolutely.
So they will not respond to your message if you start chatting them. But if someone in their country reach out, the conversation can be heard. And we will know if you can go ahead or not. But if you are chatting from here or calling from here, you will even have conversation because they're already suspicious of you because of where you are chatting them from. But the fact is that with those platforms, you can get that. You can decide to go and buy data. I can buy data of people importing a particular product in America and get my rep in America to reach out to all of them. And those of them were able to still agree on pricing. We can do a trial shipment. In fact, I can send sample to my rep and my rep can give it to them and they can check it out. If you're okay with it, we can do a trial shipment. In fact, my opinion is before you even start reaching out with those kind of options, you should have sample of your product ready. So that if they say they need it within a week, they have a sample of that product. And then it becomes a lot easier. Or you can decide to attend a trade fair. Go for a trade fair. When you meet people one-on-one, you can build a lot of connection that can make business opportunity to happen. And the concern of credibility will have been taken care of because they can see that you are a human being and you're not a fraudster. And you're not a fraudster.
Oh, God.
Okay. And you're not a fraudster, So you can use B2B platform. B2B platform are platform where buyers will go and post, I need this product. Sellers will go and post, I can supply this, and the platform connects potential buyer or potential seller for them to be able to do the shipment. So there are different options for market access. Okay. And I wrote a book on that. I call it Eureka. I found international buyers. In fact, let me see. This is it. Eureka. I found international buyer. How to find buyer abroad.
Let me ask you a quick question. All your books combined.
Yeah.
All your books combined. How much are they in Naira? All your books.
In Naira.
No. I'm asking for
It will be about 210,000.
210,000. That's a little by $100. Okay. Pack one each. I will do a deal now. All right. So are you done with market access?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to competitiveness.
Competitiveness.
Right? Yeah. What strategies can African exporters, use to improve their competitiveness in the global market?
Number one, if you are going to export a product, ensure the raw material can be sourced in Africa, in Nigeria, in your country.
So if you are Kenya,
get raw material in Kenya, or worst case neighboring country. But ensure you are not buying in forex.
Okay.
If you are buying in forex, you're already pricing yourself out of the market ab initio. Unless your product is such a valuable product that even if the price goes up, people are willing to buy. For example, a product like that will be, I don't want to advertise, a nodule in Nigeria. I don't want to advertise.
No, go ahead. It doesn't matter.
A nodule in Nigeria. Indomie, for example. Indomie price will go up, people will buy abroad. Not because there's no nodule abroad, but they prefer that of Nigeria. Even some other people that are not Nigerian prefer that of Nigeria. Because of the taste. Exactly. So unless you have such a product that have enormous value that people still love in spite of the price, you might not be competitive. So focusing on sourcing raw material is important. Now, I do a lot of, let me show you, I'm trying to say, let me show you a product. This is a tea. This is a herbal tea. Moringa. This is a turmeric, ginger, and moringa tea. Now, this tea, if I'm going to sell it in the US, and by the way, I found out if you want to ship this product to the UK and US will buy at a better price than UK. I don't know whether because of the distance, because UK, you can eat breakfast in Nigeria, lunch in UK, and dinner in Nigeria. So it's that close.
Proximity, I know.
Proximity.
When we used to leave Nigeria to go and watch Premiership game.
Exactly.
We leave on Friday, you're back on Sunday.
So the fact is that because of that, I think maybe that's the reason. So if this thing costs, if you are shipping this to the UK, for example, if it costs £3 in the UK, you must be able to ship it from Nigeria at £1.50. So that means if I go to check Tesco or Sainsbury, or in America I check Walmart, if the price is $5, I must be able to ship profitably at half the price. That means at half the price, if I export and that's my sales price, I'll be profitable. If I can be profitable, then most likely the product will be competitive. Most likely the product will be competitive if I have the retail price. To make it competitive, what some people have done, which is doing very well now, is rather than going by air, which is very expensive, people now go do groupage and go by sea. So you have a lot of cargo companies, Nigerian owned cargo companies who are now helping, although some of them are having teething problems, but the number of them are getting out of it. I know a guy that does shipment to UK every month. He will set a date and people will bring their goods. He's going to ship it together and then take it to a warehouse where it can be distributed to different places in the UK. That because if you ship, because your product cannot fill a container. If you ship by air, the cost of in fact, there was a time we did a shipment by sea to the UK, and we're targeting Christmas, and that good was going to get there almost at Christmas. So my partner in the UK that I work with, that I was telling you about, we agreed to do another shipment by air. Ahead, so that we can sell, because our customers are going to look for alternative. We don't have our product in market.
Absolutely.
So we did by air while the other one is going by sea. That one by air, the cost of the goods was 2.5. The freight was about 3 million. So the cost of freight was more than the goods, but we did it. It wasn't profitable, but we did it because we needed the goods to be there ahead of the one going by.
You have your reputation at stake, actually.
Exactly. So to boost competitiveness, you need to be conscious of where you are sourcing your raw material from. If you finish goods, you need to be very conscious of your packaging requirement. In fact, there was a time I used to ship very frequently by air, almost every other month. And I realized that by changing my packaging from corrugated carbon box to nylon strap, nylon strap, the one they used to carry bottled water.
Yeah.
Those nylon strap carry bottled water. I drop my weight because shipping by air is a game of weight.
Oh, that's true.
It's a game of weight. So I was busy paying for carton that will be destroyed.
The corrugated will be trashed. Yeah, it will be destroyed.
Trashed.
And
so we have to put it in. Yeah, we have to put it in. We put it in that strap nylon, and then we drop. We typically then we ship about 1.5 tons. We drop it to about 1.1, 1.2 tons. Just by changing the packaging. And that reduces and the freight price, first is price packaging, and that significantly dropped the freight cost for that transaction. So there are different ways you can be able to become competitive in the export market.
Okay, let's talk export financing now. What are the options available for African exporters to access finances for their export activities?
So many countries in Africa have programs to support export. In Nigeria, for example, we have Nexim Bank because to be able to provide single digit. But if you are in a startup, I would rather you look for venture capital, or you look for angel investor, or personal savings, or cooperative, or what I call aggregated export program. Aggregated means I raise money from different people and I'm doing the shipment and I will share profit to them with myself. But cooperative, we are doing it together, we involve everything. But in aggregated, nobody's involved, they just give me money. Or I get a venture capital who really invest in the business to be co-owner of the business. Or I get angel investors. Now, if I don't have all that, going to bank as a startup will be challenging because there are concerns about your ability to be able to deliver because you don't have a history. And when you are going to bank to ask for money, if you have history, you need to show document. The beauty of trade finance, when I was in the bank, one of my job is creating trade finance products, managing them and financing importer and exporter. And one of the very important things we look out for is your document. International trade is largely a business of documentation and logistics, which means documentation requirement speaks volume. For example, a bill of lading will tell me what you ship, when you ship, where you ship to, the date you ship, the person that received it, the person that did the shipment, and I can, if you give me a copy as a bank, I can verify it. So it's easy for me to ascertain if indeed you have done it before. Pre-shipment inspection report, quality inspection, I can verify it. So there are documentation that make the bank comfortable to want to fund you, which are based on your previous shipment. That is in addition with the fact that you have confirmed you have done it before and they are making funds available for you. But for you to get a single digit, it's better you work with what is called export credit agencies. You have the Afrexim Bank, African Export Import Bank. You have the Nexim Bank, Nigeria Export Import Bank, and you have equivalent of such export credit agency across different countries on the African continent. Those are different options available for you to be able to raise financing. And a number of banks are becoming interested because, they don't have a choice. They need to generate forex to be able to fund their import customer. So they now are getting more bullish as far as export is concerned.
Fantastic. So let's do trade. Let's talk about trade agreements. I'm sure there are a couple of them out there. How can African businesses benefit from regional and international trade agreements, and such as the African Continental Trade, AFTA, what they call it? Yeah, African Continental Free Trade
Agreement. AFCFTA is one of the best that have happened to Africa. Yeah. Fantastic program. 54 countries signed. Over 40 countries ratified, including Nigeria.
54 signed. 40
54 out of 55 have signed. Over 40 have ratified. That means it has become a law in that country.
Oh, yeah,
so
I understand.
To ship to them.
I'm just impressed with the number.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Everybody was surprised. Everybody was surprised. People didn't know it was going to be well received like that, actually. People were surprised.
Because
the challenge we have had.
Sorry to interject. When it comes to treaty and ratification, Africa is really behind. Because a lot of agreements have been signed, but ratification has been. So I'm talking in the area of judiciary, aviation, and so many others. So
other sectors.
Yeah.
But this one, we've been on this for a while. I mean, since this started before COVID, we've been on it for a while. So it's been for a while, and it's becoming now. But the real issue, when I started, I defined export readiness. In fact, my PhD thesis was on export readiness, and it was deliberate. And when I developed the model for export readiness assessment, I tested it on a number of about over 100 businesses in Nigeria, and less than 5% were export ready. Now, that is the bane, that is the challenge, that is the big issue that will determine the success of any free trade agreement, be it African Continental Free Trade Agreement, ECWA Trade Liberalization Scheme, AGUA, or any other agreement that African country has been involved in. That is the biggest challenge. Apart from the fact that generally, even in Europe, in North America, in Asia, information about the agreement is a challenge. Information about the protocol of the agreement, like the AFCFTA used to have 6 protocols, now have 8 protocols. Protocol on trading goods, protocol on trading services, protocol on dispute resolution, protocol on competition, protocol on intellectual property protection, protocol on women in trade, protocol on digital trade. About 8 protocols. Understanding the rule of origin, because the backbone of the success of a free trade agreement is the concept of the rule of origin, which defines who is eligible to trade and what defines an originating product under AFCFTA. What defines it? So the document defines it, and if you meet that criteria, then you have to go. You can now obtain certificate of origin that give you a preferential treatment where your goods get to the destination market. So, but information. In fact, I always say that. When election is coming in Africa, the way you know the major contender, that is the way we have to publicize free trade agreement if we are serious. Wow. Because many businesses that need it don't even know it exists. Every time I go for program, how many people are aware of free trade agreement? 5%, 10%, 20%. People who are manufacturers.
Why do you think?
Because it's not being nobody. It's not what you publicize that people will know. It's not publicized. If it's not in the
curiosity.
You say what?
I mean, I know it's there. You understand? Now,
yes.
People who read are informed. They will know somehow. Agreed is not.
The challenge is this person is doing his business locally. He's enjoying himself, making money. Government needs him to do it to gain forex. You need to let him know about it, else he's not bothered.
That's true.
It's not bothered.
Yeah, but the flip side is that if you're a doctor, for example, you should subscribe to everything medical. I mean, not all medical journals, but there should be a means of getting all information that relates to that.
Do you know many doctors don't even read medical journals?
Oh God! Okay.
When some of them pass their part 2 and become a consultant and fellow, so even don't read again. Those that read are the people in the academics.
Oh wow!
Because they have to do it because they need to teach. And they are forced to do research. So it's a challenge, really. But if we fix that and we increase awareness, we're going to get a lot of people subscribing to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, another agreement that the country in Africa subscribed to.
Anyway, we have you. I follow everything you do, so and I won't fall for the indolency thing at all. I will, because mental laziness is a very dangerous thing.
It's dangerous, very.
I try and read 10, 20 pages of something every day. It's not easy. I try.
What I do is I do more audio.
You see, that's the thing. I'm not that Kindle audio person.
Audio, okay. I do a lot of audio. That kind of thing. I do a lot of audio. I have to read because okay, maybe because by virtue of my job, sometimes I can't, okay, so because of the nature of my job, for the one I have to read as a text, most of the time is trade related, different area of trade. But I'm also interested in another area. I'm interested, I do a lot of, I do some counseling for young people on relationship, marriage. So I read a lot about that.
Yeah,
a lot of other things about psychology, sociology, just understanding why we do what we do. Because sometimes it's amazing how ignorance human being can be in the way we act and behave. As in, you know, sometimes you're doing something, society can justify it, but you're killing yourself.
That's true.
You're destroying yourself. You're not even aware that, look, this behavior, for example, someone offended you, hate him, and you think you are doing something to him by hating him, not knowing, you know, okay, maybe because I also have a medical background, so I'm familiar with a lot of I study human being. That's my discipline, my first discipline. So I have to read about all this. So those ones, I do a lot of audio for them, but for my core area, I don't have a choice. I have to get the text.
I have to confess that when I found out today, if I was told to guess, I would never think you had a medical background. You know, the challenge I have is I have guests from different areas. I have to read. I must read. You know,
you need to read, because you'll be able to ask very important questions when you read.
Professor Dekalo, Professor Tommy, all these people, you know, they and when we're on Atlanta discuss the political sector, it's a discussion. So it's not just an interview. So you have to be appraised. Yeah, it's not.
What is going on?
You can't afford to have a moronic comportment. All right, export development. What role can institutions like Lagos Chambers of Commerce play in supporting export development in Africa? Yeah, I know you did CCCI.
To develop export. To develop export.
Yes, that's a question. What role?
Two things. No, I'm not. I'm trying to start my thought. Two things we need to deal with. We need to increase the number of exporters and diversify the product we export. If we don't increase the number of exporters, we can't grow the volume. So what has happened now is, okay, look at this data. Last year, 2023, we did about 4.7 billion. 2024, we did about 5.4 billion. We had about 20% increase in the non-oil export of Nigeria. But it wasn't because of a strategy of government, as it were. Not because the government does not have something they are doing, but it's not something traced to it. Two major products contributed to that growth for Nigeria: cocoa and fertilizer. Cocoa, not because we increased volume of cocoa export. Price of cocoa went from about $3,000-4,000 to about $10,000. That consequently affect our export proceed, even if we export the same volume.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Fertilizer. Dangote refineries upstream is selling fertilizer, it's exporting fertilizer. So those two contribute significantly to the growth. Majority of the factories or the businesses have reached their peak. No new investment. So if they are doing $5 million a year, that's what they are doing. That means if you are going to grow, you have to bring new businesses to begin to produce and grow, because the big guys have reached their peak. Which is why increasing number of exporters is more important for me in developing export in Africa. Increasing the number. For example, American exporter are almost 300,000. UK, almost 150,000.
Wow.
Go to Africa, very few. Nigeria is even less than 1,500 for a population of over 200 million people. So that becomes a big challenge for the continent. So and number two, to diversify. That means we can't just stay in commodities. We need to add value and diversify, or stay with minerals or oil. We need to diversify. So oil price has dropped. Budget was priced at $75 per barrel. Now the price has dropped below that. Then it becomes a crisis. And it's not just Nigeria facing this. A number of African countries face this. But look at this. Which is why I said Sometimes it looked like, is it that common sense is not common, or because we have cheap way of making money? Nigeria is borrowing. Look at one singular product that I believe can help Nigeria to generate maybe about $5 million in a year, $5 billion in a year, billion. Soybeans. Soybeans demand in the world is almost 100 billion. About 60% is China. Nigerian government have different agreement with China. Come and build bridges. What are we telling them we want to? Give us 5% of your market for soybeans. Go and farm soybeans, create jobs. Government buy from the people, ship it to China. Generate forex.
Even 10%. We have the population.
Exactly.
We have the
generate
population.
forex.
People are looking for work every day. They always
generate forex. So these are bilateral trade. We give you this, you give us this. So you know that you are buying this volume from Nigeria. We can then just go and farm. Provide the improved seedling, provide this thing. I mean, it just does not make sense. Do you know, we create a model on this. I mean, a model showing, look, you can give the farmer land, give them money, give them seedling, give them fertilizer, they just do the farming, they bring it to you, you pay them in 3 months, and you pay them 30% of whatever they incur. 30%. That means the farmer make 30%. Government will export, government will still make a lot of money for infrastructure development after paying the farmers and incurring other costs for the transaction. But we're not interested, so we are still making money from other sources.
So my final question, we're going to look about future trends, because I'm sure for anybody watching, they're like, okay, there's some people that going to be new, they're just showing interest. Some are halfway there, some have been hesitant, some have even heard most of these things before. They don't know how to take the bull by the horn. But some are deeply in it, even those that just want to start, they were like, okay, if we're not doing the other things, what are the future trends? What should we watch out for? And I'm sure your response will apply to almost all sectors, even for people, as long as you're an exporter, you learn from the response. So future trend, basically, what are some emerging trends and opportunities in global trade that African exporters, right, should be aware of, and how can they prepare to take full advantage of them?
Africa missed the opportunity for manufacturing, to be a product manufacturer. So we have not done well in trading goods, but there's an emerging area that has grown. Trading services before COVID was just about 4-5 trillion. Trading services today is about 9 trillion. Within the same period, trading goods have only grown from about 18 trillion to about 24 trillion. But trading services have almost doubled. And trading services require less infrastructure. Trading services require less funding. Trading services can engage the energy of African youth. And it has 12 broad areas, from tourism to transport to technology to financial services to business support services, different area of services that we must look at if we are going to be able to have a good share of global trade going forward. That is growing, that is emerging, that is a good opportunity for us. In the course of the conversation, I mentioned focusing on intermediate goods. Don't be too eager to do finished goods. Focus on intermediate. The trend is shifting towards intermediate because many countries they don't want to, developed countries don't want the raw material in their country again. They want intermediate because of the environment. So you want to probably consider focusing on intermediate goods. It's becoming a major area of focus with a huge opportunity in that space. And because of the emerging trend in sustainability, focusing on products that support sustainability, recycle plastic, recycle tire, recycle this, recycle that, recycle. The volume is growing. A lot of things before that we throw away, that we waste, are no longer waste. In fact, a country where knowledge is given the adequate attention it deserves, nothing is wasted. Everything can be reused. it can be recycled. There's always something to do with it. And in the bid to protect the environment, that's an area that is getting a lot of attention and with a lot of support. Because you are just in that space, some organizations are willing to give you fund, give you grant to be able to do more to support and protect the environment.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, you've all heard from the export king, Bamidele Ayemibo, he's broken it down. Vaccine over 8, 9, 10 questions on various topics. And, he broke it down even in very layman stuff. So we have to say a big thank you to him. Export Product Atlas is out, We're going to share all the details with you in the chat box so that you can all patronize him. He's a Nigerian. He's doing very well. He's highly respected internationally. And those are the kind of people we need and talk about. We need to boost our export capacity in the world. The percentage of our export in the world today is really almost negligible, and it's not fair. Yes, we are 1.3 billion people in the continent of Africa, but that's about the population of the continent of India, and we all know what India is doing in export, and, so we can do better. But then it's a wrap there. We are pressed for time and we have to go, but I'm sure that we will have to bring Bamidele back sometime in the future. Bamidele, thank you for your time always. Thank you for what you do. You're a true patriot, true son of Africa. We love what you're doing and keep up the book, good work. And the Export Product Atlas, please go to volume 2 immediately. We're ready to. I'll get in touch with you. I need all your books. I'm serious so that we can.
All right.
Send it to
all right.
So to all our
all right.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Thank you also for all you do. And with a lot of focus on Africa, providing information for people to be able to take very informed decisions, particularly in politics and in the business environment. Thank you very much.
You are most welcome. We have to do what we got to do. It's a clarion call. We all have a role to play. I'll play mine. You're playing yours. Others will have to play theirs. Especially those of us that are of Nigerian origin. I always say we are the largest concentration of Black people on the planet, My friend from Botswana always say, okay, if you are that much, does it mean that all the food we're eating in Africa come from Nigeria? Does that mean all the technological power in, They said, what does the population pretend to, that kind of thing. I just laugh, I don't want to get in trouble because Botswana, they're getting it right in so many areas,
Yes.
After all, when you vote, you can't even organize a free and fair election. Then look at Ghana. That's when I don't talk again. But I'm sure very soon we're going to put them to shame. We have to.
No, I can't wait.
I can't wait. I think Nigeria should just organize a free and fair election, and I'm sure it will make all the difference for everybody.
And it will also cascade on other African countries because we are playing some big brother role, but we can't play because we are incapacitated.
Honestly. So viewers, thank you so much for your time. God bless you all. See you all next week. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, bro. God bless you.